Well, Joanna, you're a city chick like me, and you write about food. Do you think urban people are going to connect with farmers in the next year?
I think obviously the times have changed a little bit, and someone earlier we were talking about this said they remember when everyone had a city cousin who came to the farm for the holidays. That was certainly me at my uncle's property in the New England. My kids haven't had that same opportunity, so that divide is growing. I think in the end, Alana was talking about social media being a form of engagement, and social media is also a form of, more importantly, is about creating communities. And with your Twitter, with your Facebook, you are actually creating a community of people who are like-minded, like the 954 people who are my daughter's best friends on Facebook. I don't know, how do you know 954 people? Anyway, so getting back to your question, I think you always have to start with what is real and what is authentic and what is about your community. And when you're talking about then connecting and communicating with other people, which is the key to all of this, and that's what the media is supposedly about, or social or otherwise, it's about stories, it's about faces, it's about people behind the clothes we wear, behind the food that we eat. And I think in the end, it's easy as a food journalist to find stories and tell those stories, and that's a very good way of communicating about our farmers or about anybody who's involved in the production of our food. I think the challenge is the physical space, obviously. Most people's experience of regional Australia is driving down a highway and eating McDonald's, and being able to get off that highway and get out into regional communities when you're travelling and not eat McDonald's. Sorry, I can only really talk about food. I'm obsessed, I give up. But being able to actually experience the stories and the colour and the authenticity of a region. And I think that's one of the challenges for everybody here, is to find out, what is your story? What have you actually got to say about who you are, where you live, what you do, what your region is about? And that leads not only to communication on Twitter or Facebook or wherever, but it also leads to tourism, gastronomic tourism, and the sorts of things that I'm interested in, actually drawing visitors to your area. And all of those things are incredibly important in breaking down these connections, or establishing these connections and breaking down the divide.
Well, if farmers want urban consumers to understand them more, is this going to be a request for a one-way relationship? Do farmers expect that urban people are going to be considered by farmers? I just wonder, that often makes me wonder, why do you need to know about the panel beater in Sydney? So why should urban people even care about where their food comes from? I'm playing devil's advocate here. I mean, I'm just wondering if Charlie, you can answer that one.
Well, I think the proof's in the pudding. I mean, the last 20 years has been a considerable mind shift from the consumer about where they see their food coming. They're wanting to know a lot about the consumer attributes, more than just the food safety elements, and we're seeing that in through the policy space as well, and how and what kind of requirements are being put on the farmer about what kind of production methodologies have gone into it, and how they're treating the environment, how they're treating their animals, all these other attributes which are ultimately more important for the consumer.
Well, Fleur, do you want to be better understood by urban people? You have a farm tourism business. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, well, part of the reason we started our farm tourism business was not for money, which I think anyone who's gone into tourism might understand initially. Part of the reason that we went into tourism was because we wanted to actually have an opportunity to showcase what we did, but also to get people to understand the beauty of the Australian bush and the connection that we had to our land, and the fact that what we were doing was making a difference. And probably 80% of the people that come to our farm are West Australians from Perth, because we're quite well located between Perth and Exmouth, which is at holiday time very busy. And so that's giving them it's giving them that farm experience, because a lot of them book in, it's just a place to stop over, but when they get there, they get the whole experience of our place. And that certainly makes it very different. And for them, they they stay, they come for one night and they say, oh, we should have stayed for longer, and they bring their kids, and the kids get an opportunity to interact with farm animals and native animals and get to drive around in the bush a bit and understand what it's like. We use Facebook to market our farm business. We use the internet. We get the majority of our bookings through the internet. We remember our international tourists the most, but the reality is they probably, international and interstate tourists probably only make up 20% of who we get. But all of those people, even the ones from Perth, find us on the internet, find us on Facebook, comment on us on Facebook. We use that for, you know, telling our story. And really, all of this is about how we connect with people. And that's what our opportunity is with social media. It's about connecting. It's about getting your story out there.
Yes, I just wanted to add a comment about this notion of urban people understanding people in agriculture. I think there's another dimension that we're missing, and that's about urban people and people in agriculture actually joining together around the notion that healthy environments, healthy farming systems, healthy food and healthy people are all intertwined. And if we can get urban people to actually understand that eating is an agricultural act, it's the end of the food production, then we actually have a place to join together. It's not about urban people understanding us, it's about urban people realising they're part of it.
And Sam, do you feel that there is a disconnect between urban and rural people?
I think some of the time it's a construct that we put in place, and there's certainly an opportunity through social media to re-engage. And at one point, I think, Pip, you made the comment, is this a one-way relationship? I think that's an oxymoron. A relationship is about a two-way dialogue and people getting to understand each other far better. So there's an opportunity for us as land managers to understand what's important to the consumer, but nonetheless there's an opportunity also for the consumer to understand the environment in every sense in which we operate. And therefore, you know, it's important to us as producers that not only do we address the triple bottom line, but there is, we're in the business to make a profit, and it's important that we are able to do that. And therefore, in engaging with our consumers, we're looking for their support around policy frameworks that enable us to move to a more productive and competitive position.
Well, Ag Chat Oz was answering some of the questions raised. They had some questions put to them last night, and one of the ones was, what's your favourite farm app? So could we go along the panel to hear what the favourite farm apps are?
So I'm clearly interested in something that adds to my productivity. So it's F-Track, which is a farm app that's been developed by farmers in southern New South Wales. They found that they had a number of properties and a number of family members or farm employees that each had physical pocket notebooks, and that variously would get dropped into troughs or fall off the motorbike and get trampled and covered in all sorts of substances. And there was not that connection, but this is an application that's online, real time, where they can record stock movements, applications in paddocks, and everyone can see that. So that's about sort of that real-time knowledge and capturing that information so that they can improve their management.
I'm passing.
Well, and I'm expanding the question to say what's my favourite agricultural app, not my favourite farm app, because I'm going to say that my favourite agricultural app is Urban Spoon. And Urban Spoon is thank you, a restaurant guide. And the reason I think it's my favourite app is it fits with what I said before, that eating is an agricultural act. And I think linking people's enjoyment of food back to where it comes from, agriculture is not just about production.
There's a good food guide app as well on that subject, which is much better than Urban Spoon.
Oh, sorry, I obviously picked the wrong one.
From my talk today, I think anyone who heard it probably understands that I'm all about the people, and my favourite agricultural app would have to be Facebook. I had to put a post up before I spoke today with a picture of the stage from the back of the room so that all my friends could tell me I was going to be okay and I could do it. But aside from that, we do use Facebook with our tourism business, and I'm also involved in the Climate Champion program, and some of the other participants who do that program with me are on Facebook, so we connect through that. There's also another social media that we use through the Climate Champion program, which is called Ning, which is quite similar to Facebook, only we put a lot of papers and other information, people's presentations on there, so we can get access to share all that information amongst us. Probably one of the best things about the Climate Champion program is we actually have an organisation called eConnect, who are science communicators that do a lot of our communication for us. And these guys are experts at using social media, and that makes our job very easy. So I think the other thing is sometimes to consider, if it's not your space or you don't know that you can do it, and I will openly admit that I don't tweet, but I think I'm going to learn how to do it while I'm waiting at the airport tonight. If you don't know how to do it or it's not your space, find the experts, find the people who are good at it, because that's what their job is, and then they can help connect you in. So through that, through having really good science communicators, they have helped to connect us to each other, so all the other climate champions, and they've also helped to spread the stories of ours across Australia.
Probably my favourite, most useful app would be just a simple weather app, just to, while I'm around the place, know what's coming, wind and all that sort of stuff when we're spraying, things like that. But more importantly, I guess, bigger picture about smartphones and applications is, I think that the smartphone generally is just, for me personally, and probably for a lot of people, has just been so beneficial for in the farming space. Presuming, infrastructure is our biggest downfall there. We simply can't get the signal in a lot of areas, but if you can, the ability to be on the web or on email or whatever it might be, communicating with the outside world, has just revolutionised so many aspects of farming in Australia, I believe. And I really think, though, that there is just still a real gap there in the marketplace for some of these applications to be designed for farmers. Jim Gelch might actually confirm this for me, but I think that there is a Nuffield scholar who's actually this year studying farming apps around the world, and going to be bringing some of that information back to us here in Australia, hopefully in the next 12 months. Because I think there's a real gap there.